I'm upset with Jonathan Smith. You're upset with Jonathan Smith. A lot of State fans not happy with him, but I think it's also fair we also spread around this blame for how we once again seem to reach rock bottom.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, how on earth are we all doing in the midst of another game week, which I'm sure you just all can't wait for? That's right, Hoosiers, Spartans, 3:30 on Peacock. Woo! We're not going to so much talk about that game today. We're still going to talk about how this program has found a way to reach rock bottom on today's episode. We're going to get to a lot of mailbag questions. We're going to get to the quotes from offensive coordinator Brian Lindgren here in a little bit. But really quick, before we get into the bulk of our show, guys, please rate, review, subscribe, comment below, and also reach out to us at lockedonspartans@gmail.com like many of you did after Saturday's game. And I've been saying this all week, if not for nothing else, Saturday's bludgeoning against UCLA in front of a homecoming crowd at least did one thing for us, and that was really put us all on the same page. I'm sure there are a few people out there that are still like saying that the rest of us are too negative or, oh, we still need to give Smith a chance. But by and large, I've never seen a majority like this all come to the agreement that, yeah, it's time to move on to the next thing. Let's just act like the last 2 years never happened, and let's just go ahead and pay that $30 million buyout that it is. So, look, when I say that we set a record for most emails after a game, we are not kidding. Long ago are the days of apathy in this program, and I know that a lot of people might not be tuning into games, but boy, howdy, the energy, the emotion is still running very, very strongly through this fan base because there's a lot of upset people, and I've been one of those upset people. Look, we've spent the last few shows burying the whole Jonathan Smith regime here, right? So let's just change it up a little bit, because when things get this bad, and I don't think that we're over-exaggerating. Yes, it is a 3-game losing streak, but you get beat by 25 and look lifeless the entire time against UCLA. Yeah, this does seem like rock bottom, but how do we get here? Now, we are going to go right to the mailbag, lockedonspartans@gmail.com, because Fritz writes in another great email, and this will be our starting point for today's show. Fritz writes in, he wrote a few takeaways from the game. This is just one of them. MSU's coaching staff is not the problem. Our players are. The coaching staff in this game was completely fine. There were no brain-dead calls or miscues on that part. The players, however, seemed like they were running around like a chicken with its head cut off. I don't understand how the defense's inability to stop the run, and keep in mind that this is a UCLA team that ran the ball horribly all year long. Additionally, the offensive line was terrible too. Both Chiles and Milivojevic had barely 2 seconds to put the ball in the receiver's gloves before they got pummeled by 400-pound defensive linemen. So I agree with some. I don't agree with some. Like, look, I think it is fair to blame coaches for, and this goes beyond just the UCLA game. I've been very loud about this, so I apologize if this is your 5th time hearing this. But you can't blame the coaches for not identifying what's in front of them. Like the Nebraska game, for example, when they come to the podium right after the game and say, no, we didn't notice anything glaring with the offensive tackle issue, even though Aidan Chiles was fighting for his life that entire Saturday. Or also it comes out like after the UCLA game, they say like, yeah, the focus and energy I don't think was our big problem today. Like, really? Because it looked like you slept walk all 3.5 hours of that game in front of your homecoming crowd. I think you can blame coaching for alignment issues that this team still has. I mean, this isn't 1 or 2 games into the season with a brand new defense. This is game 6, and we're still hearing about how guys aren't lined up and, oh, we just got to coach it better. It is October 14th. That should have been figured out. Ideally, August 14th. But here we are, nevertheless. You could also blame the coaches for, I don't know, maybe not getting Chiles in rhythm, which they have admitted to not doing earlier this week. But look, let's spread around the blame here, because it's not all on Jonathan Smith. As upset as we all are, and as done as we all are with this regime, like, you can blame both coaches and players for energy. And also, like, sometimes in life, sometimes in college football, Your players, and I'm sorry, this is like the uncomfortable part because now we're talking about these college kids, even though they are getting paid these days. Still sucks to call out, like, you know, this group of young kids that represent the university. Sometimes you're just not good enough, right? Like, I think we all got the idea now. You know, I kind of had the hunch after the USC game. Maybe I was a little too hard on the team after facing such an athletic team that, okay, well, this isn't a roster that can compete at a high level of Big Ten football. Saturday showed us that that's not a roster that can compete at any level of Big Ten football, it looks like. So before I say more mean things, let's go to an email from Josh because, hey, it's better to read it off of someone else's fingers than my own here. Joshua wrote in, and I agree with everything he said. I was at the game on Saturday, unfortunately, and this team just has no speed or quickness. The lines are always getting beat off the ball. The linebackers are getting beat to the holes. The receivers aren't getting any separation, and the defensive backs can't keep up with their receivers. The only player with a bit of quickness is Frazier. Mekhi Frazier, of course, but he doesn't have great speed, and the line doesn't give him any help. Yeah, 10 out of 10, I agree with all of that. And look, for a coach that's been here for 2 years, it's not all of his fault. Like, look, the defense has more missed tackles than any other team in the Big Ten outside of Maryland and Northwestern. The offense, the trenches specifically, it's not good. You can't run the ball anymore. Your yards per play on the ground keep going down and down in the conference rankings every week. Aidan Chiles is once again, for the second year in a row, a top 5 most pressured quarterback in the Big Ten. But man, like, I'll give some empathy to Smith here because how do we get here? Like, not to throw all of our problems on the last guy, but you could also throw some problems on the guy before him. More on that later. But Jonathan Smith did get here with a pretty empty cupboard in some glaring position groups. Like, I get it. Like, hey, Mel Tucker, hey, he had 4 stars and 5 stars on campus. Weren't the Lamborghinis fun? The goats fun? Like, yeah, until, like, you all remember, and hopefully a lot of you do remember, that he didn't even get a lot of those kids, right? Like, let's look at the 2023 recruiting class. 17 commits. You cannot have a class like that in college football. And I know that the difference of, like, oh, just 6 more kids is 23 That's 6 more kids to plug in at position groups. Like, that is actually a bigger number than I think a lot of us realize here. So it's not just the lower class totals that Tucker had. It's just the whiffs that he had too. Again, all the 4 stars and 5 stars that never ended up committing here. You look at his few recruiting classes, Mel Tucker only recruited 2 linebackers to ever come to Michigan State. One was Jordan Hall, which, yeah, that's great. I still enjoy watching Jordan Hall play. It wasn't all bad for Mel Tucker, but the other linebacker was Quavian Carter. I don't even know if he's still playing college football, to be quite frank. So, look, there's been other position groups that have looked like that. And, hey, did he get some good players? Have some of them gotten here and then left in that first offseason under Jonathan Smith? Yes, of course. There's Derek Harmon. Simeon Barrow, of course, is another one. You want to throw Gino Vandemark was another big name, too. Yeah, sure. But, like, it wasn't a ton of headline players. Zion Young is another one, defensive end. But, yeah, the list ain't much further than that. And here's our other issue, too, is that, sure, the 2022 class, I think, had like 23 kids for Mel Tucker. And yes, there were some 4 stars in that 2023 class that just had 17 kids. But largely, even those 4 stars were kind of bust, weren't they? I mean, yes, there are some good ones here that have been held over from Mel Tucker. Nick Marsh, Jordan Hall. I think Stant Ramil is, still a lot of career left in that young man's game. But, oh, my. Andrew DePape, hey, 4-star defensive end. He commits here. Okay, he does not stay around. He goes to Indiana. He has 10 snaps the entire year with Indiana, and that's when they beat Indiana State by 70 points. He's buried on that depth chart. Chase Carter, another defensive end. From everything that I found today, I think he's out of football at this point. And who remembers top 100 recruit by Job? That's right. What a win for Mel Tucker. Well, now he's playing at Miami of Ohio. Like, the defensive end room, Jonathan Smith gets here, and he's wondering, where are the players and where's the talent? What the hell did this last guy do? Cornerback, not much better. I mean, that was a pretty neglected position. And Chuck Brantley, who was the best last year, he hops in the transfer portal. Oh, and this is what Miami thinks of his talent. He's played 11 snaps for the Hurricanes this year. Jalen Thompson, he transfers back home. There were some health issues within his family. He's playing for Memphis right now. He hasn't played a single snap. I don't know if he's got an injury issue going on. I couldn't find one, but that's the kind of quality recruits that also greeted Jonathan Smith when he got there. Wide receiver? Yeah, sure. Like Nick Marsh, dynamic get. Jeremy Bernard, that's another one too. You know what? But he was great, but he left, of course. Now he's at Alabama. But outside of Nick Marsh, you got Antonio Gates Jr., Isaiah Johnson, who's no longer playing college football. Jerron Glover transfers into Mississippi State. He's got 6 offensive snaps with the Bulldogs. They're barely even using him. Tyrell Henry goes over to Wisconsin. He's got 5 catches. So, like, yeah, sure, you got all these recruiting wins here and there, sometimes just for Mel Tucker, but based on where they went and how little they're being used, even those guys weren't great. So, yeah, it's tough for Jonathan Smith. I do emphasize with it is that you do have to fix a lot of issues that wide over a roster. It's hard to fix it all in the portal, but still, there's still some blame that has to be placed on him. And we're going to get to that here in a hot second. We're going to talk about more mailbag questions, more quotes from Brian Lindgren at today's media availability. But first, I need to talk everyone's ears off about Mazda. That's right, guys. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. And guys, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost every single season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. It's Mazda, move and be moved. Also, witness the fitness with Peloton, because Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's your most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. For example, guys, the swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a single beat. And best of all, the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. Get your workouts tailored to your vibe and energy with every single week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, whatever it is, do it with Peloton. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. So that was a lot of excuses made for Jonathan Smith, which, again, I'm all set with seeing anything else from this regime. I don't think the rest of the schedule sets up too nicely for him either. And not to throw it all on Mel Tucker either. It's not like he inherited a great situation either. The roster that he took over was loaded with MAC-level players. And I got to say, I love Mark D'Antonio more than I love some family members. But, man, you also did the program no favor by retiring after National Signing Day. There's been a lot of issues here with a lot of regimes picking up from the last slop some guys have left over. But here's what I can excuse for Jonathan Smith. I mean, look, you talk about getting rid of some players in the portal. Okay, realizing that some guys aren't up to snuff for Big Ten play. But I still leave my head scratched because that's all I've been doing this week is about like, okay, well, why'd you seemingly get rid of Dylan Tatum? I mean, yes, I understand you probably didn't think that Nikai Martinez would be out for as long as he is, but my God, the guys behind him, it's a disaster. Like, I know that Dylan Tatum is just like a spot starter / reserve on Northwestern right now. It's not like he's going to be a first-team All-Big Ten player, but surely he's better than whatever we just saw on Saturday. Or, for example, hey, need help in the defensive end room? I'm not saying Anthony Jones is the second coming of TJ Watt, although he looked like it at some points on Saturday. Well, he was not better than what we have right here. I don't know. It's just, look, I would still like to see progression out of this coaching staff. I don't think that's asking the world here. Like, even with all the limitations that was provided, even with how much overhaul they had to do with this roster, because I think that's also a massive issue here, the players just aren't good enough. Like, here's what you do have to see from a head coach in the midst of all that, though. Like, a little progression from one year to the next. On either side of the ball, go ahead and pick your side of the ball. I was hoping for both sides of the ball, but if you just want one, you're not getting either anyway. I don't want to hear about guys being misaligned after 6 games. I want to see you give other guys shots too, which, like, I'm not going to make Justin Denson appear to be the second coming of Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu or name your safety, but why is he getting no run the last few weeks? Which, by the way, if you look at his Twitter account, he's stripped all things of Michigan State off his profile. I think he's good as gone. But like the safety's been kind of a disaster. We're not going to just give any other guys some run here. So I don't know. And on top of all that, you got a recruiting class that is like in the midst of imploding. So that's why I'm all set seeing it. But yeah, I just want to make us all aware, like, let's share some of this blame pie that we're all eating right now. And that's not the only question from Fritz that we're going to get to right now, because this was another good one that he wrote in here. Again, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Where do we as a program go from here? We just got started with the season, and now basically we have the equivalent of a meat grinder of a schedule in our next few games. I'm extremely worried, especially about our good players on both sides of the ball. Where are they going to go after this horrendous start to a year? What about next year? What about the culture? They write in all caps. That's maybe why I'm so just like accepting that, okay, this is over, because look at the rest of the schedule, man. You couldn't win at Nebraska with a lead in the second half against a Nebraska team that I just don't think is that good. And then you get walloped against a UCLA team that I know for a fact is not good. And next up, you're facing arguably the best team in the nation. You're facing your rival who hates you and also has NFL quality players on that defensive front. And then after that, like, it doesn't really ease up all too much. So yeah, if you can't not just beat UCLA, if you can't stay competitive against them, yeah, shame on me for kind of writing off the rest of the year, right? But that's a really good point, is where do we go? What about next year? What about the culture? And I'm going to mosey on over to Spartans Illustrated here, because David Harns, before the game on Saturday, this was written before the game. This is very important here. He had a great piece, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing too much of this. I should have texted you, David. I'm sorry. But just like the ins and outs of the program, what they think of Jonathan Smith, the patience, just everyone's thoughts before the game on Saturday. I understand things drastically have changed ever since then. But something that he got from people inside the program was that you got to give Smith another year, no matter what happens the rest of this season, because, okay, if you fire him, you're going to look at even more roster depletion. You're going to look at recruiting blowing up. And also, this is my words, not theirs, you are looking at 4 coaches in 4 years if you count Harlan Barnett and his tenure as being a coach. But that doesn't do healthy things for a culture that's trying to be rebuilt here. But here's the thing. This is the post-Saturday commentary now from myself. Like, who cares if the roster is more depleted? Like, the roster is already not up to the standard of Big Ten football as it is. Oh no, recruiting's going to dive off of a cliff. That's what we've been living here the 2 years here. Like, what? Okay. Oh no, the culture, it needs to be reset again. What culture? We just watched a team sleepwalk the entirety of their homecoming game in a must-win spot when they should have been starving for a win. So, no, like, that's the other thing, too. I was in full agreement of that piece, and I have been screaming from the mountaintops, like, no, you got to keep Jonathan Smith here. But, yeah, Saturday is when I sold all my shares, because ain't nothing looking right, man. There is not a thing that I'm looking at that I just wouldn't hit the reset button on right now. Yeah, I get it. You know what? It'd make next year's schedule really tough. Like, you're looking at losing against Toledo, a really good Toledo team to start the season. You're looking at losing by infinity points to Notre Dame in that second week. But, like, who cares at this point? Like, just give me something new. Let's start fresh, because who's to say both of those outcomes wouldn't happen anyway? I'm not too inspired by a lot going on right now, so hopefully that's got everyone cheered up. Guys, we're going to get to a lot more mailbag questions, and I'm sorry I can't get to everyone's. I mean, you guys are just simply the best. Truly love every single one of you. But, guys, first you need to talk your ears off about Wayfair. That's right, guys, because, believe it or not, the holidays are going to be here before we know it, which it is exciting, yes. But getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware, well, it needs a refresh, or your guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair is everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding, cookware, outdoor inflatables, you name it. It's your one-stop shop for every room of the house. Now, Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. Like, for example, hey, the outdoor inflatable, which they got a lot of great options of. I'm a big outdoor inflatable guy. Right there in Wayfair. And best of all, the quick free shipping. Guys, get organized, refresh, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. It's Wayfair, every style, every home. Also, gang, SupplyHouse, because, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you got to get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while the industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse, that's right, next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, last segment, it's going to be a combo here. A little bit of mailbag with Brian Lindgren quotes spliced in here. Now, this email comes from Daniel, and we've gotten some emails of this iteration here in the last few days, and it is about Aidan Chiles. It's about your backup quarterback, Alessio Milivojevic, and let's see if there's going to be a battle here. Now, Daniel writes in, I've been 100% with you about sticking with Chiles, that he's far from the main problem, and his athleticism gives you something special and makes up for some of his other weaknesses, but I think I'm finally ready for Alessio. A lot of fans out there ready to turn the page. Daniel, again, not the only one. I realize most of his success has been in garbage time, so it's not even that I necessarily think he's better. What convinced me is that he gets targets to Marsh way more. Sometimes Chiles almost seems to go out of his way not to, and then Daniel writes in, feels very hurt/brown. He's from Philly. He also wrote in, tough few weeks for us all around. And anyway, he writes in, unless we're going to run Chiles 15 to 20 times per game, I don't think we're taking advantage of the athleticism enough for it to be worth the lack of passing accuracy and ability to make the right reads. Now, look, I'm going to just go ahead and hypothesize that I think it will be Alessio getting the start this weekend. This is no inside information. I'm not trying to be cute with it right now, but I'm just kind of reading between the lines and also seeing Aidan Chiles getting throttled by defensive players the last 2 weeks. Maybe he just needs to sit on the sidelines for a game here. But he also, and by he, I'm sorry, Brian Lindgren also, at media availability said that he did regret not getting Leo Hannon at least a rep or two last week. And maybe I'm reading too much between the lines here, but to me that seems like, we should have gotten Leo Hannon a rep here as our new second string quarterback, should Alessio be the starter. Maybe that would have been better against UCLA when we're down by 1,000 points instead of, God forbid, Alessio gets hurt, against one of the best defenses in all of college football and against a team that wants to, murder you every single play. So, maybe read between the lines, but I think it will be Alessio's time. I liked what I saw from Alessio. Look, I don't think he was perfect by any means, but he's got a strong arm. The ball pops off his hands, and yes, just like Daniel wrote in, he did target Marsh a lot. Maybe no, I'm not going to say too much because I don't think he could do it too much, but Nick Marsh had a career high 14 targets in that game on Saturday, and Brian Lindgren said that was going to be an emphasis, getting him targets. But, man, that was cranked up to 11 once Alessio got into the game, and I don't blame the kid. If I'm a backup quarterback, I'm being thrown into the game, who am I going to look at? One of the only, one or two, maybe even three NFL players on this whole offense, and the other guys might be playing on that offensive line with Matt Golden, maybe Omari Kelly. But that's another thing, too, that I want to talk about is Omari Kelly, because there's a lot of, to do about Nick Marsh not getting the ball a lot the last few weeks. I get it. It hasn't been working for anyone. And Omari Kelly with 8 targets in his last 2 games combined, just 3 catches, 30 yards. And this isn't on Omari Kelly. I'm not saying that, hey, he sucks. No, not at all. The whole passing game's been an issue here. But he was spoken about by Brian Lindgren, saying, quote, Omari Kelly is mid-season healthy. He's battled through it. Kind of alluding to he's a little banged up, just like, a lot of other players are. He's a really good player. He's someone we want to find the ball. If people are going to load against Nick, Omari will get a lot of touches. Well, that was certainly not the case last weekend. So maybe he's trying to preview what they're going to be working on for this upcoming weekend, if anyone's actually going to watch the game. But yeah, another concerning thing that came out of today's press conference too, and we all saw it. This isn't anything new, but he did say, quote, we just weren't creating the separation with that man coverage against UCLA. That's okay. So what's going to happen against Indiana secondary that has a few NFL players? Like, what's going to happen against Michigan's defense that's laced with NFL talents? Like, you're just all of a sudden going to get separation against Minnesota, who always has a good defense year in and year out. Like, you're going to get separation in man coverage against UCLA. Like, oh my god. So, look, I'm helpless. I'm looking forward to Alessio. I think if Aidan Chiles is healthy, if both Alessio and Aidan Chiles were both 100%, despite the confidence being a little shaken, which Jonathan Smith has spoken about earlier this week, I still would go with Aidan Chiles. And it's really, maybe I'm just looking into this too much, but it's for one reason only at this point. So this offensive line, you got to have legs. You got to have athleticism to evade the pressure, extend plays, and just hopefully not get killed, which unfortunately Aidan still wasn't even able to do. But yeah, it's not to say that Alessio is a statue back there where he's got, bricks for shoes and he can't run. It's just Aidan's, one of the better ones at it, if not for nothing else in the conference. So look, hopefully Aidan can get healthy, whether it's this weekend, whether it's the Michigan game. Let's get a reset. Let's actually get these guys throwing in rhythm. Couldn't believe that. Just like, I think it was Jonathan Smith earlier this week. I think Brian Lindgren kind of talked about it too. Is like, oh, we got to do a better job of getting these quarterbacks in rhythm. Like, yeah, not every pass has to be a 15-yard bullet down the seam. Like, you can actually help your own cause right here, because Aidan Chiles, let's just throw some stats out there. Last week, he was over 5 on passes that were 10-plus yards through the air. If you want to combine it with the Nebraska game, over the last 2 games on passes that are 10-plus yards through the air, Aidan Chiles, 1 of 14 on such passes. He's second lowest in adjusted completion percentage on 20-plus yard throws in the Big Ten, and he's 4th lowest on the intermediate throws of 10 to 19 yards. Yeah, just give him something like shorter and quicker to cook with once he does come back. It's another thing that drives me crazy. The head coach is an offensive guy. The offensive coordinator, hey, we brought in a quarterback's coach, so you actually had chances to be a better offensive coordinator. This is why, even like in the first segment with all the excuses that we just listed, eventually it does fall on you. Like, it does fall on the current regime. God. Anyway, let's end this with doing the coaching carousel talk. We've talked about James Franklin not too long ago in the last few shows here, but Richard writes in, I actually think Smith's biggest failing as a coach is not being able to maintain this limited team's limited confidence. A gust of Nebraska win should not have rattled Aidan Chiles. Anyway, what do you think of Alex Golesh, head coach at South Florida, as a possible replacement? What I really don't want is Georgia Tech's coach coming over. MSU needs to stop hiring people with incomplete resumes. James Franklin would be nice, but he's not going to get fired midseason and come right back to a Big Ten team. I don't think it's a 0% chance for James Franklin. Alex Golesh, though, I think I said his name in passing not too long ago, but he certainly would be at the top of my board. And I know how ridiculous this is, doing the whole coaching search thing while we still have a guy and a staff gainfully employed with 6 games left to go in the season. But please, this is all anyone wants to talk about is just, okay, what's next? That's how over it everyone is here. I think I might not do everything great on this podcast. If there's one thing that I think I do moderately well, it's getting a true sense of how the fan base is really feeling by conversations, by getting emails, by reaching out to people. Everyone seems to be done with this. But anyway, Alex Golesh, that's right, the pride of Moscow, Russia. I do not know how many head coaches out of Russia there have been in college football, but I'd be happy to have this one. Look, Midwest ties, right? Ohio State grad. He's been around the block. He's worked at places like Toledo, Illinois, Iowa State. So right now, yes, he is at USF, University of South Florida, even though it's in Tampa, not South really at all in Florida. I digress. The Bulls are currently 5-1. And they had that great opening night win against Boise State when they were ranked in the top 25. They rolled them out of the stadium. Then they beat Florida, which I know it depends what week it is, but Florida, can be a good team. That's a really good win for USF. Now, the last 2 years, he's gone 7-6 with the Bulls program, but look at what he inherited. He took over a South Florida team that was a combined 4-29 the 3 years prior. It was 1 win, 2 wins, and then 1 win. He didn't take over necessarily the greatest program. I like the brand of physical football they play. I like that he has Midwest ties because a lot of you guys were right. Let me tell you, when you were saying, oh, I don't know about this West Coast guy, I don't think it's really going to work out here. That's way too many ties that he has to make against guys that are already from the Midwest. And I said, well, just give him like a little bit of time. It can't be that bad. Boy, did I learn a lesson. So far, it is that bad. Oopsie poopsie. Don't get everything right on this show. We get a lot right. We don't get everything right. That was a big one. But yeah, I like Alex Golesh for a few reasons. I also like the fact that he's 41 years old. You know, young guy. Oh, but what if he gets really good and Ohio State wants to pry him away? Let that be a problem when that becomes a problem. I cannot care. If we ever come into a problem where, hey, someone wants to poach our coach or our coordinators, I will welcome that day. I will welcome that day whenever. Just like I welcome every day that I get to talk to you beautiful people and hear from you guys again. Like, that doubled what the previous record was for post-game emails. So really, guys, I cannot thank you enough. These aren't like the greatest days of Michigan State football, but this is the greatest fan base. Love being part of the Michigan State family here. You guys always bring the passion, the energy. It's always in good spirit. Very rarely does it ever get nasty out there. So thanks a lot for all the feedback, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in, for listening. You guys are all the best. We're finally going to start talking about the game this Saturday. Tomorrow, we'll be joined with Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers, who I do love talking to. We get into some basketball at the very end of that show, but yeah. Is it the most upbeat conversation? No, but is it a good look at the Hoosiers program and how kind of the two programs are sitting now? Yeah, unfortunately it is. And then Chase Glasser to end the week. And then recapping the game on Saturday, which I don't even know what I'm going to say. All right, well, until then, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go green.